They say you don't just marry a man, you marry his family too. I didn't know I was marrying into a goddamn psychological war. It happened 3 weeks after our wedding. At a family reunion his mom insisted we attend. I was standing next to my husband when she clinked her wine glass, silencing the room, and said in front of at least 40 relatives, "This is Anna, my son's temporary girlfriend. But don't worry, honey. Everyone has their phase. He'll be back with someone more suitable soon." Everyone froze. I felt every eye burn through me. My husband, Jason, just laughed. Uncomfortably. He didn't say a word. Let me rewind. My name is Anna. I'm 29, I'm a pediatric nurse, and I met Jason 2 years ago on a volunteer trip in Guatemala. He was charming, kind, and for once, someone who didn't make me feel like I had to work for love. I fell fast, maybe too fast. His family, on the other hand? That was a slow-motion car crash from day one. His mother, Beverly's the kind of woman who tells you she admires your outfit before recommending a tailor. The first time we met, she asked me if my parents spoke English. I'm Korean American. Born in Seattle. Jason said I was being too sensitive. Still, love makes you believe people will come around. They didn't. When Jason proposed, she told him she refused to attend the wedding. She changed her mind 2 weeks before, showing up in a cream-colored gown, telling people she was renewing her own vows with her son. I should have left then. But I didn't. And now, standing in that garden, holding a glass of champagne and my dignity by a thread, she was introducing me like I was a summer fling. I looked at Jason. He smiled nervously and squeezed my hand. "It's just Mom's way," he whispered. "Don't make a scene." That was the moment something in me snapped. I put my glass down, walked to the center of the garden, and took the mic Beverly had just used. "Hi everyone. I'm Anna. Jason's wife. Not his girlfriend. Not his phase. His legally bound, witnessed by God and this family wife. And while we're being honest tonight, I'd like to clarify something else. Beverly? She didn't want to come to our wedding. She said, and I quote, 'No one wants to watch a poor immigrant girl trap a man above her league.'" There was a stunned silence. Beverly stepped forward, face pale. "That's not—" "It is," I said calmly. "And I forgave it for Jason. I've swallowed insult after insult for months for Jason. But calling me temporary? In front of your family? That's where I draw the line." I expected Jason to say something. To defend me. To finally stand up. Instead, he took the mic from my hand, cleared his throat, and said, "Let's not make tonight about drama." I stared at him. The man I married. The man who promised to protect me. That's when I noticed something else: his cousin Lily. She was smirking. The kind of smirk you only see on someone who knows something. Later that night, I found her alone by the pool. "You think it's bad now?" she asked, sipping wine. "You don't know the half of it." I didn't want to hear more, but I couldn't stop myself. "What do you mean?" She looked around, then leaned in. "Jason and his ex, Heather, they never broke up. They were still seeing each other when he proposed to you. His mom's just waiting for you to leave so he can get back with her. Heather's the real one, according to Beverly." I felt the blood drain from my face. "I thought she was lying," I whispered. "She's not," Lily said. "I didn't tell you before because, honestly, I didn't think you'd last this long." I went back to the guest house we were staying in and confronted Jason. At first, he denied it. Then he said it was complicated. That Heather was his first love, and Beverly had hopes they'd get back together someday. He claimed he married me because he wanted to move forward. "So I'm what? Your rebound wife?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just rubbed his temples and muttered, "This is why I didn't want you to talk." That was the final straw. The next morning, I left the estate. Packed everything. Went home. Ignored his calls. until he showed up at my apartment with flowers and tears. "You're my wife," he said. "Please, don't throw us away." But something was broken. Not just by his mother, but by his silence. His complicity. "So now," I asked you all, was I wrong to walk out on a man who wouldn't defend me? Was I too dramatic for standing up in front of his family and exposing the truth? Was I the villain for not keeping the peace? Because if loving myself means being the villain in their story, then I'll wear that label proudly. I wish the story ended with me leaving and never looking back. But love is a hell of a drug, and closure is a craving that doesn't quit easily. 3 days after I left, Jason's sister, Melissa, reached out. She never liked Beverly much either, called her the family dictator during one of our wine nights and said she had something to show me. We met at a coffee shop, and she slid her phone across the table. A string of texts from Beverly to Jason. And one to Heather. "Give it 2 months. She'll break. She's weak. Then you and Heather can start fresh without that awkward divorce drama. Stop placating her. You're making her feel like she belongs. She doesn't. Heather is coming to the reunion. Don't let the girl get too comfortable." I felt like I'd been sucker punched. Not just because of the cruelty, but because Jason had never warned me. Never once stood between me and the blast. Melissa leaned in and said, "Look, I know he's my brother, but you didn't deserve that. You were the only person who ever made him less of a selfish ass." I sat back, stunned. "So why are you telling me all this now?" She shrugged. "Because you deserve to know you weren't crazy. And because Heather's pregnant." I choked on my coffee. "Come again?" "She's been seeing Jason since the wedding. Or maybe before. I don't know. But Beverly's planning a correction marriage. That's what she called it. Correction. Like I was a typo. I wanted to scream. But all I could do was laugh. A bitter, hollow kind of laugh that made Melissa tear up too. "You really loved him, huh?" she asked softly. "I thought I did," I whispered. "But now, I think I loved who I thought he could be." That night I didn't sleep. My phone buzzed every hour. Jason sent flowers, voice messages, long paragraphs that sounded like they were written with ChatGPT and desperation. I ignored them all. But the universe wasn't done screwing with me yet. The next weekend, I was at my friend Ellie's apartment when she screamed from the kitchen. "Anna! You need to see this!" It was a Facebook post. A public one. From Beverly. "We are thrilled to announce our son Jason will soon welcome a child into this world with the woman he truly loves. Sometimes life gives you detours before you find your way home." There was a picture attached, Jason, standing next to Heather, who looked about 3 months along. She wore my wedding ring on her necklace. I sat down, hard. Ellie looked at me, speechless. "That's evil. Like full soap opera villain evil." I didn't reply. I opened my laptop. Logged into Reddit. And I wrote everything, every detail, every moment, every betrayal. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I wanted to know. Am I the asshole for walking away from a man who let his mother erase me, and then quietly replaced me while I was still grieving our marriage? The post exploded. Thousands of comments. People validating me, sharing similar stories, and most importantly reminding me that I wasn't alone. But then came an unexpected message. A private DM from a name I didn't recognize. "Hi. You don't know me, but I dated Jason 6 years ago. He did the same thing to me. Promised the world, let his mom bully me, and when I broke down went back to Heather. Be glad you got out now. Some of us weren't that lucky." Suddenly it all made sense. Heather wasn't just the girl from his past. She was his mother's puppet. The always waiting plan B. And Jason was too spineless to break the cycle. 3 months passed. The divorce was messy, but swift. Beverly tried to fight it, sent letters begging me to be Civil for the sake of the baby. I mailed them back unopened. But one day, I got one more message. This time, from Heather. I don't know what you think you won. But in the end, he always chooses me. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed a reply. He didn't choose you. He settled. You can keep the man, the lies, and his mother. I'll keep my peace. And I meant it. Months later, I moved cities. Started over. Found a support group for women who'd been through emotionally abusive marriages. I told my story, and others shared theirs. Some were worse. Some were eerily similar. And one woman said something I'll never forget. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to stay and fight. It's to walk away before you disappear. I didn't disappear. Not this time. So again I ask, was I wrong to walk? Or did I finally choose myself, after too long letting others define my worth? 3 months after I filed for divorce, I got a voicemail from Jason. His voice was slurred. Not drunk, more like exhausted. Anna, I messed up. Everything's gone to hell. Can we talk? Please. I didn't return the call. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. I clicked on his social media account, which I hadn't checked since blocking him. And there it was, his entire life unraveling in real time. A post from his aunt. Prayers for Jason during this difficult time. We're heartbroken by the betrayal he's endured. Another post buried in the comments. Wait, Heather cheated on him? I blinked. I clicked deeper. A friend of a friend had posted a cryptic message. When you leave a real one for a fraud, don't be surprised when the karma hits twice as hard. The comments were full of speculation. Then someone tagged Heather's new profile. It was public. And there she was. Pregnant, belly gone. Flat stomach. New boyfriend. Same smug smile. A week later, a private message landed in my inbox. From Jason. Heather faked the pregnancy. Mom knew. Said it was justified to keep me from throwing everything away for you. I don't know who I am anymore. I lost you, and now I've lost everything. I don't even think the baby was ever real. I stared at the screen, paralyzed. What do you say to a man who threw you under a bus and then realized too late that he was standing on the tracks? I didn't reply. Instead, I called Melissa. She picked up instantly. Let me guess, she sighed. Jason told you the baby never existed? My heart skipped. You knew? I found out last week. Heather called me, of all people, to brag. She never wanted the baby. Just the ring. Said your poor nurse sob story was making Jason into something boring. Said she wanted the old Jason back. I closed my eyes. What did Beverly say? She's pretending it was all Heather's idea. Like she had no part in it. But I saw the texts, Anna. Mom knew. She helped fake ultrasound appointments. Even had a friend at the clinic send in paperwork under Heather's name. I nearly vomited. This is a movie, I whispered. No, Melissa said softly. It's a damn horror film. And you survived it. I hung up, sat on my bed, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere along the line, I stopped mourning Jason and started mourning the version of me that believed people like him could change. That's when I decided to write everything down. Not on Reddit. Not in a text. I opened my laptop and wrote a letter. To Beverly. Dear Beverly. You called me his temporary girlfriend. Let me tell you what's temporary. Your power. Your schemes. Your delusions that you could micromanage fate like a family calendar. I was never temporary. I was a woman who loved your son with her whole heart. I showed up. I forgave. I bent until I cracked. But now I'm permanent. I'm permanently out of your reach. Out of your twisted narrative. Out of the shadow you cast on everyone around you. And Jason? He made his choices. I hope he finds healing. But I'm not his healer. You tried to erase me. But all you did was help me become someone impossible to forget. Have a great life. Anna. I never sent it. But I read it to myself every night for a week. Eventually, I returned to work. Started traveling again. Rebuilt pieces of myself I didn't even know were broken. 6 months later, I was speaking at a women's mental health conference, sharing my story under a pseudonym. When I finished, a woman came up to merely 30's soft voice, trembling hands. She said, "Thank you. I've been living with a man just like that. I thought I was crazy for wanting to leave." I took her hand and said, "You're not crazy. You're just early. You already know what you need to do." That moment, that was worth every tear I'd cried. People sometimes ask if I'm dating again. I'm not. Not because I'm scared. But because right now, I'm falling back in love with myself. And no one gets to call me temporary ever again. It had been almost a year. A full rotation around the sun since Beverly stood in that garden and announced to her family that I was just a phase. I hadn't seen or heard from hero Jason since his last apology message, the one where he admitted Heather never loved him, and that everything fell apart. I moved on. Not in the happily ever after with someone new kind of way, but the better kind. The quiet, powerful kind where I stopped flinching at memories, stopped checking for texts that would never come, stopped apologizing to myself for not seeing the red flags sooner. Then one afternoon, I walked into the hospital for a double shift. There, in the ER waiting area, was Beverly. She didn't see me at first. Her hair was thinner, tied in a loose bun. Her makeup, usually flawless, was barely there. Her face pale. Her hand tightly gripping the edge of the plastic chair like it was the only solid thing in her life. I paused. Beside her sat Jason. Gaunt, silent, staring at the wall like a man unraveling from the inside out. I asked the nurse at the desk, heart pounding, "What's their case?" She whispered back, "The mother's in early stages of kidney failure. No insurance. Doesn't want to tell the rest of the family yet. Looks like she's trying to handle it quietly." The irony hit like a freight train. Beverly. The woman who once said I wasn't good enough for her son. Sitting in a public ER, quietly falling apart. I had two options. Walk past. Or walk toward. I chose a third. I walked up behind her, took a breath, and softly said, "Ma'am, do you need anything?" She turned. When she saw me, she froze. Her lips parted. No words came out. Jason stood, face twisted in embarrassment, guilt, something in between. "Anna. I didn't know you worked here." I looked him in the eyes. "Still do. Still standing. Unlike some people." He winced. Beverly opened her mouth. "I didn't." "Don't," I cut in gently. "You're sick. This isn't the time." She looked away. For the first time in all the years I'd known her, she didn't wear that armor of superiority. She looked human. Small. Breakable. Jason cleared his throat. "We're on a list. She might not get a donor. I don't know what we're gonna do." Silence stretched between us like a wire. Then Beverly whispered, "I never hated you. I hated that you weren't her. And you were everything she wasn't. I was scared." "Of what?" I asked quietly. "That he'd actually be happy without my help," she said. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Because the apology, if it even was one, came too late. But not everything is about revenge. Some things are just about release. "I hope you get what you need," I said. "Medically and otherwise." I turned and walked away. That night I sat at home with a cup of tea, replaying it all in my head. I realized something I never thought I'd admit. I didn't hate Beverly anymore. Pity, maybe. But not hate. Hate ties you to someone. Forgiveness, real, raw forgiveness cuts the rope. 2 weeks later, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was from Beverly. Anna. I don't expect forgiveness. I wouldn't give it if I were you. But I need you to know your strength scared me because I never had it. I was raised to believe control is love. That appearances matter more than truth. And that women like you, honest, kind, loud in the right ways, were dangerous. I was right. You were dangerous. You shattered the lies I clung to. I hope one day you use that power to change more lives. Maybe you already are. I'm sorry. Beverly. I read it once. Then again. Then I tucked it in the drawer where I keep things I don't fully understand but don't have the heart to throw away. 3 months later, I gave a TEDx talk. Titled, The Weight of Being Temporary. I told my story not with bitterness, but with honesty. People cried. People stood. One woman came backstage and hugged me so hard I almost fell over. She whispered, I was going to marry him. Until I heard this. You saved me. That was the moment I realized the full circle truth. What Beverly meant to destroy me with became the very thing that saved someone else. So if you're reading this now, wondering whether you're overreacting, or being too sensitive, or risking too much by walking away, you're not. You're just choosing not to be temporary anymore. And that's power.